All right.
Yeah,
Welcome, everybody, to our Tuesday 11 o'clock class. I do give you all the opportunity to mute and unmute yourself whenever you wish. Just remember that when I'm speaking, giving fingering, playing, keep yourselves muted so that we don't have microphones interfering with the sound. And that way, when I ask you for questions, then go ahead and unmute yourself and you can all scream and yell and tell me what you think and ask all the questions you want. Today's song is Stormy Weather from Book 200. If you don't have Book 200, it's probably in other books. Keeps Raining All the Time from the Cotton Club Parade of 1933. Does anybody know what the Cotton Club Parade is? Not really? Okay. Well,
Yeah, I
Ethel,
know.
you
When I,
do?
yeah,
Okay,
that
what
was
is it?
when I was born.
Okay. Ethel Waters first sang this at the Cotton Club in Harlem in 1933, and she recorded it that same year. Now, the Cotton Club Parade was like let's just put it this way. Everybody went on tour. So the Cotton Club, all the artists at the Cotton Club then went on tour and sang and played for the rest of the world. And that was the Cotton Club Parade of 1933. In that time, they did a lot of musical reviews, which were just ways to elevate artists and to get composers' work out there. And anybody who had written a new song, they wanted to promote it, they would put it in one of these reviews, of which the Cotton Club Parade was one of them. All right. It was also recorded by Frank Sinatra. Of course, he did everything. Judy Garland, Etta James, Ella Fitzgerald, Dinah Washington, Lena Horne, and Billie Holiday. So this is a bluesy number. As you can tell by a lot of the artists, were blues artists. It was also featured in the 1943 movie called Stormy Weather, and that was considered one of the best musicals with an African-American cast. And at that time, that was very important. And it starred Lena Horne, Bill Robinson, who was the original Mr. Bojangles, by the way, Cab Calloway, and Fats Waller, all fabulous musicians and singers. So if anybody wants to check out the 1943 movie Stormy Weather, you're going to get a great piece of entertainment. So what we're looking for is some blues today, some blues or that type of feeling. Stormy weather, don't know why there's no sun up in the sky. Since my man and I ain't together, keeps raining all the time. So they're likening the weather to how somebody's feeling with a breakup or with their man running away. That's actually a pretty good analogy. Life is bare, gloom and misery everywhere. Must be coronavirus. Just can't get my poor self together. I'm weary all the time. We should write a song about being being all cooped up and having to stay at home. And yeah, stormy weather would be a good one to do. Leon, are you listening? Our resident poet. So weary all the time. I always had a problem when I would sing this song. If you take a notice at the song pattern, this is kind of an odd song pattern. Most of the time, you get 8 measures and 8 measures, and then it goes into a bridge of 8 measures, and then it goes back to the original 8 measures. Well, here you have 8 measures till the end of the first ending, and then in the second ending, there's an extra 2 measures. And I never could figure that out, and it always threw me off when I was learning this song. I wanted to go straight from the middle of line, the last line, the middle of that, straight to the bridge. I never wanted to put in those 2 extra beats, or those 2 extra measures, excuse me, but that's the way the song was written. It was written with that intention. It's to keep you crying for an extra 2 measures. So when you have those last 2 measures on that first page, those are added, and that was intentional by Harold Arlen and Ted Koehler, who wrote the song, to add those 2 measures. Why? Because they could. Because they could, and it just adds to the emotion of the song. or so they say. All right. I'm going to play it. It comes up on song setup. It comes up to autumn keys at 72, but I also put this on soul ballad, or you could go to big band and put it on Duke's Blues, or you could go to your R&B and go to your slow, easy blues. So it doesn't really matter. Anything 4/4 is going to work. And we'll talk a little bit more about sounds and backgrounds after we go through all of our usual chords and fingering. But let me play it first, just so you get an idea of what this goes. See if you can follow the road map. Nothing too hard here. Okay, that was song setup, and it came up with Glenn Miller's woodwinds on the top and his brass on the bottom. So big band type stuff, and it was on the autumn keys because of the fill-ins and all that wind that came in the introduction. So Bill Curry was making use of the intro and the fill-ins on that one. All right, let's do some extra chords, because yes, I have them. However, remember, they are optional. You don't need them. But if you learn one new chord every time that you sit down to the instrument, pretty soon you're going to have a repertory really nice and large, and chords are the spice of the music. All right, the C chord is good for 2 counts. Cross out the A7 and replace it with C sharp, diminished. Remember, diminished chords are the letter plus 6. So your 2 notes are C sharp and G. C sharp and G. If you wish, you may put a 7 on the D minor, or just play D and F. You have to play the minor. If you wish to add the 7, it's C, D, and F. The G can be a G. It can be a G7, which is F and G. Or for those of you who want to learn something new, try a G9. G9, it's a 4-fingered chord. You can take these 4 fingers and just lay them on 4 notes. F, G, A, B. Just like that. 4 fingers, just whoop, right there. Okay, next line. The C is good. The A7 is good. The D minor, if you wish, you may put a 7 on it. And the G can be a G, a G7, or a G9. The next set of 4 chords, C, A7. The next line is D minor, you may put a 7 on it. And the G, this time, instead of making it a 9, you may wish to make it a G augmented. A G aug. Now, what does that mean? That means that you're going to have a D sharp in it. But if you look at the right hand, there's your D sharp. So the chord will absolutely match the melody. G augmented, by the way, is D sharp, G, and B. And if you wish to make it a G7 augmented, it's really easy. Just going to do D sharp, F, G, and B. So you can play it with all 4 fingers. All right. Then the first ending, the C chord is good. Cross out the A minor and throw it away. You're not using it. We're just going to play C for 1 complete measure. The D minor, you may put a 7 on it. And the G can be a G7 or a G9. F, G, A, B. Okay, the second ending. The C chord is good for 2 counts. Beat 3, which is in between the notes, is an F or an F7, which is E flat and F. Or, if you're adventuresome, make it an F9. F9s are 4-fingered chords. Here's your notes. E flat, F, G, A. They're all right in a row. They're fun chords to play. They're easy, and they sound really cool. Here's the difference between them. Here's an F. Here's an F7. Here's an F9. Ooh, that's a pretty chord.
Dawn, what were the notes for that F9 again?
F9 is E flat, F, G, A.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
And where were you playing that, Dawn?
That is in the first measure of the last line, beat 3. So it's right before you do that extra, the time. Beat 3, it's in between the 2 C's.
Okay.
Second measure, see where it says C7? Just play plain old C, cross the 7 out. Plain old C. That's good for 2 counts. Now you're going to play 2 chords for beats 3 and 4, so you have to write kind of small. Beat 3, which is actually after you play the G dotted half note, is an E minor or an E minor 7. You have to play the E and the G. You may play D, E, and G. That's the 7 is the D. And the beat 4 is an A or an A7. So that measure is going to sound like C for 2 beats. And then go right into the D minor. And if you wish, you can make that D minor a D minor 7. Or not. You can just put an effects in there and go from the C straight into D minor 7. That works too.
So D minor versus E minor?
No, nope, let's go back. I'm confusing you. Second measure, C for 2 counts,
Right,
E minor for beat 3, E and G,
got it.
A7 for beat 4.
Right,
And the next measure you have the D minor.
gotcha.
Okay, perfect. Is that Marie?
Yes, thank you very
Oh,
much.
okay.
Thanks.
The D minor can have a 7 on it if you wish. Then the G minor is good. And the C, and if you wanted to play a G augmented, I guess you can because you've got those D sharps in there. As a matter of fact, let's do that.
Huh?
Why don't you use the computer?
Because she wants to be in here.
Okay, so G augmented if you wish because that has those D sharps and the D sharps are in the right hand. The C chord is good for 2 counts, and then we're going to add 2 more chords. So you're going to take that C7 and cross it out for now. We're going to use it, but we need to get 2 chords in there. So beat 3 is a G minor, gorilla minor, which is G and B flat. And then the 4th beat will be C7. So you want to stick a G minor in between there. Any questions about the first page?
Dawn, would you go back to where you said, I thought you said C augmented. Did you say
Nope.
D augmented over the
Nope,
C?
G, no, the G is augmented. Over those D sharp notes, all
Yeah.
the
Oh,
G is
okay.
augmented.
Oh, the G is augmented.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
D
what
sharp,
if-
G, and B. The C is just plain old C.
Okay.
Then you have
Dawn?
yes.
Okay. On the very first, where the A7 is, where you first start the song, there's a C and A7. You said cross that A7 and
Mhm.
play what?
C sharp diminished.
Okay.
Yeah.
C sharp and G.
And the G augmented is 3 notes. You said G sharp and then something and then B?
Nope, D sharp with dog sharp, dinosaur sharp, G gorilla, and
Okay.
B butterfly.
Okay. Okay.
And if you
Okay.
wish to add the F in there, you may.
Okay. Thanks.
You are welcome. Yeah, there's some interesting chords in here. It just adds a little bit of spice.
And then
Let's go
the
to
C S measure is just a C?
Last measure is C, just a plain old C. Then you're going to add 2 more chords. G minor,
Yeah,
B3.
B minor and C7.
Correct, you got it.
Okay.
You got it.
Okay.
All right, let's go to the top of the next page. Make that first F, if you wish, an F major 7. It's the first one of those we've had in this song. F, capital M-A-J-7. Remember, major 7s are jazz chords. It is the letter -1. So here's an F. Here's the F major 7, E and F. Oh, is that pretty? That's a pretty chord. And it's easy, very easy. Just take those 2 fingers. Whoop, there it is. The next measure, you're going to have 3 chords. The C chord is perfect right where it is. Beat 2, you're going to play a D minor, dinosaur minor, which is D and F. And beat 3, which is over the E quarter note, put a C major 7, C capital M-A-J-7. Your 2 notes are C and B, chickens and butterflies. And you can put the B on the bottom if you wish. I won't look, okay? It's the same, whether you play it wide or whether you just sneak it in at the bottom. When you get to this level, you guys are advanced now. When you get to this level, you play them where it's comfortable. All right, make that next F an F major 7, E and F. Let's go to the second line. The C chord is good for 2 counts. Now you're going to add 2 more chords. Beat 3, which is over the A, you're going to put D minor, which is D and F, and over the G, which is beat 4, put a C major 7, C and B. The F
Okay,
chord is good. Yes?
When I'm lost. Okay. So you
Uh-oh.
on the, are you, sorry. Okay. You on the first line of page 2 after the F major 7?
Nope, F major 7 is good for the whole measure.
Oh, okay.
Then we're going to go to line 2.
Okay.
Yep, line 2 is the C is good for 2 counts.
Okay.
Beat 3 is a D minor, and
Okay.
beat 4 over the G is a C major 7.
C major 7. Okay. Thank you.
Got it? Okay. Second measure on the second line, F is good for 2 counts. Over the C 8th note, pray, over the word pray, put in a C diminished. Remember, the diminished chords are the letter plus 6. So your 2 notes are C and F sharp. The last measure of line 2, the C is good for 2 counts. Over the F quarter note, the word is let. A or A7. Alligator 7, G and A. Let's go to line 3. First measure, first beat. Over the G, D minor, dinosaur minor, D and F. Second beat over the E for the word in, E or E7, elephant 7, which is D and E. It's actually pretty easy because you're on D and F. You're just going to switch to D and E. Then the A minor comes in on beat 3, right where it's written, and if you wish, you may put a 7 on it, which would make it C, G, A. Now remember, these are all optional chords. If you just play the chords that are there, it's going to sound pretty groovy that way too.
Would you say that one more time?
About optional chords?
The last one that you just,
Line 3, first measure.
yeah, got that.
Okay. Line 3, second measure. The D7 is good for 2 counts. Cross out the G, and we're going to write 2 chords in there, one for beat 3 and one for beat 4. So you're going to have to write kind of small. D minor, dinosaur minor is beat 3, and G7 is beat 4. So D minor goes to G7. That's a very common progression. The third measure of the third line, the C is good for 2 counts. Cross out the A7 and replace it with C, sharp, diminished, just like you did in line 1 on the first page. C, sharp, diminished. The D minor, you may put a 7 on it. The G can be a G7 or a G9. G9 is F, G, A, B. If you learn one chord today, you're 100% successful. Line 4. C is good. A7 is good. The D minor, you may put a 7 on it. The G, the 7 is okay, but you might want to put a 9 on it, G9. The C is good. The A7 is good. The D minor, put a 7 on it if you want. And then your last G, if you wish, make that a G augmented. We've had that before too. D sharp, G, B. And the last line, C is good. The D minor, you may put a 7 on it. The G sharp can be an augmented, D sharp, G, and B. The C is good. And then you can play an F7, beat 3 of that measure, F7 or F9. We've had that before too. E flat, F, G, A. And then the last measure, put in a C again. And if you want, you can make that a C6. A C6 is a four-fingered chord, and it must be played in this order. C, E, G, A.
What was that F9 again?
F9 is E flat, F, G, A. 4 notes all in a row. So your ending will sound like this.
Can't hear you.
You couldn't
Dawn,
hear
could
it?
you
Okay,
do
let's
the
try it again.
last-
Can hear you, but not the organ.
Okay.
There you go.
I have an alternate ending if anybody's interested. The alternate ending sounds like this. Stick with the F9. I like the F9.
Dawn, could you do
on the first page, last line,
Yes,
second measure,
yes,
that from there on.
yes. Second measure, over the A for time. C, chicken, not C7. Beat 3 of that measure, E minor. E and G. Beat 4 of that measure, A or A7. The D minor, you can put a 7 on it if you want.
At one point, we've done this before, and I've got a C sharp diminished right there.
Yeah, I know. I checked with I had 3 different arrangements of this,
Yeah.
and I chose the one that I actually thought would be the prettiest one.
You didn't like that. Okay, so what did you put in there then?
E minor and A7.
Okay.
Yeah, the C
All right.
sharp diminished is fine. You can keep that there if you like it.
No, I erased it.
Oh,
It's gone. All
yeah,
right,
there's
thank you.
a lot of different arrangements of stormy weather. I'm sure there's some with even more spicy chords. I tried to keep it to the ones that I thought were the prettiest and chords that I thought you guys could also handle. And remember, if you don't like the G augmented chords, don't play them. If you don't like F major 7, don't play it. Only play the ones that you think are pretty, and
If you don't
only,
play 'em, you never learn them.
only learn one.
Right. Dawn,
Dawn,
Yeah.
Dawn,
Yes.
I'm puzzled at the very ending. I wrote down a whole bunch of single notes, but you played chords. So could you just, I have like 1, 2, 3, 4, I have 6 different notes down here played singly, so I've done something wrong. After
Oh.
the C, this is the very last 2 measures.
Okay.
You have a C,
Uh-huh.
and then over the note C, I had F7.
Okay.
Okay, then I've got E flat, F, G, A, C. Are those, what did I do?
E flat, F, G, A, C are the notes in the F9 chord.
Oh, so I'm just playing one chord?
Yeah. Those are the notes. E flat, F, G, A, C are the notes that are in the F9 chord, which you've got written as an F7. If you make it an F9, those are the 4 keys you need for an F9.
Oh, where the F7 is, it's a 9. Okay,
Yeah.
all right, so
Yeah.
that's F9.
That solves that mystery.
All right, but then you played 2 other ones.
Then you play a C6
right.
Then it's a
or a plain old
C6.
C. You can just play plain old C at the end too. You have to go back to plain old C or C6 because that is the key of the song. Now remember, the only reason you need to know the key of the song is to know which chord to start your introduction with. So if you're using your introduction, play a C chord because it's the last chord.
Okay.
You have to go from the F9 back to a C, and it can be a C6 if you wish.
Okay.
Dawn, I'm
ahead.
sorry. Dawn, on the second page, 1, 2, 3, 4th line, last measure. It's D minor 7th, and then where it says G7 and G, you said a G augmented or G7 augmented?
G augmented or G7 augmented.
Okay, so the notes are D sharp, G, and B, but that'd be for G augmented.
Add the F. D sharp, F, G, B.
Okay, so if it's G7 augmented, you add an F after the D sharp.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. And then in the last line, I think on the second measure, the first measure is C, and then the second measure, I got the C6 on the last measure,
Right.
but the second measure, it's D minor 7th, and then I see G7 over the D sharp. But was there something more in there that I missed?
Augmented.
Oh, augmented.
Augmented, yep.
Also okay, so that could be
Augmented because that D sharp is in the right hand. If you make that chord an augmented chord, it's going to match much nicer.
So that G7 or G is an augmented.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Because here's what it is. If I go to, let's just go to a piano sound. If I play a G7 and then play the D sharp in the right hand, it kind of clashes. But if I play a G7 augmented, then it matches better.
Okay.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
excellent.
Got it.
You ready for fingering?
Yep.
All right.
Thank
Mute,
you.
mute yourselves again, and we'll do some fingering. I know the chords on this get a little tricky, but that's what makes this song so pretty and so bluesy. All right. D sharp is 2, E3, G5, D sharp 2, E3, G5, E3, G5, G flat 4, F3, D sharp 2, E3, high G5, low G1, and if those of you who were in my class yesterday learned about doing a glissando from the high note to the low note, and you just reach your thumb up to your pinky and pull it down. You may do a glissando from that high G to a low G. Let's continue. D4, 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 C3, A1, C3, G1. Now, why did I do it that way instead of putting a 5 on there? Because I added a little embellishment. I added on the D quarter note, which is beat 3, I went up to an E and back to a D, D, E, D, and those fingers would be 4, 5, 4. But that's optional too, but that's just adding a little extra embellishment. Let's go to the third line, F1, A2, C3, D sharp 4, D sharp 4, E5. C can either be 3 or 1. Why? Because if you make it a 1, you can do a little finger roll from E to C. And when you do a finger roll, you're grabbing every note with a finger. E with the 5, E flat with the 4, D with the 3, D flat or C sharp with the 2, and C with the 1, and you're just rolling your fingers down. So it's like a little glissando, but you're picking up every single note. That's just another little embellishment trick. Your pickup notes at the end of that line are D sharp 2 and E3. The dots will send you back to the beginning dots, so you can pick up verse 2. Let's go to the second ending, line 4. E5, C1, there we go again. Put a little squiggly line in between the E and the C, because what you're doing is rolling your fingers. Then put a check mark. Check mark means you're going to lift your hand and reposition it. The C quarter note is a 5. Second measure, a 3, G2. Third measure, F1, A2, C3, D sharp 4, D sharp 4, E5, C3. Top of the second page, A1, B2, C3, D4, C3, 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 C3. Second measure, C3, C3, E5, C3. Next measure, A1, B2, C3, D4, C3, 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 C3. Second line, C3, C3, A2, G1, A2, B3, C1, circle it, you're tucking it under, D2, C1, 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 C1. Last measure, C1, C1, F4, E3. Okay, now before we move on, All those eighth notes in a row are supposed to be swung, swinging the eighth notes, but you're also supposed to keep them steady. So you're supposed to just do long, short, long, short, long, short, long, short, long. That's a very jazzy way to play it. Instead of playing them evenly, you're supposed to swing them. Long, short, long, short, long, which would basically make the first one a 16th note, or first one is a dotted eighth note and the second one is a 16th note. But in easy play music, you rarely ever will see it written. In jazz music, you'll rarely see that written. It takes up too much ink. But you'll feel it with the background. Long, short, long, short, long, short, long. That's called swinging the eighth notes. Let's go to line 3 for fingering. G5, E3, D2, C1, A2 with a circle. You're crossing it over. D5, check mark. D sharp 2, E3, G5. D sharp 2, E3, G5, E3. G5, G flat 4, F3, D sharp 2, E3, high G5, low G1, and if you want to do a little glissando between the two, please feel free to do that. D4, 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 and if you want to do the little flip in there up to the E and back, that's fine. Otherwise, C1, I'm sorry, back up, erase the C1. C3, A1, C3, G1, check mark. F1, A2, C3, D sharp 4, D sharp 4, E5, C3, or you could do a little finger roll and do 5 to 1, or you could save that till the end. F1, A2, C3, D sharp 4, D sharp 4, E5, do a finger roll, little squiggly line, C1. Got it? All right. How are we doing on time? Okay, any questions so far? Nope. Okay.
Nope.
I'm going to play it on Slow Easy Blues. No, I think I'm going to, yeah, we'll do Slow Easy Blues. Slow Easy Blues. 72, and it comes up with a trombone. Yeah, it does. Okay. You got to do some gliding. Okay, so if you're using a trombone, do some gliding. Do some gliding. All right, we've got a little bit of time left, and I'm going to go into
Dawn?
this. Yes.
Can you tell me the keys to play G augmented?
Mm-hmm. G augmented is D sharp, G,
Yeah.
B, or you can play the G7 augmented, which is D sharp, F, G, B. It's just as easy to play the 7 in there. If you
Dawn?
read it in the window, D sharp augmented is, or the G augmented, if you just play D sharp, G, and B, it's going to show up as an E flat augmented in your window. It's the same chord. If you add the
Okay,
F,
yeah, that's where I was getting mixed up. Okay.
uh-huh. If you add the F, now it shows up as a G7 augmented in your window.
Yep.
It's
Got
just
it.
as easy to play it.
Yeah.
Dawn,
Yes.
Dawn, could you give me suggestions for a setup for the fanfare? I tried guitar gospel. I couldn't find anything bluesy.
You know what? I have a fanfare in here. Let me do some research, and
And you can eat.
I will email you.
Perfect.
How's that?
Thank you.
You're
Perfect.
very welcome.
Dawn,
Yes.
Dawn, it's Jer. I don't have stormy weather on my fanfare in my song setup.
Okay, I'll
What
do the
should
same
I-
thing. I'm gonna help out Peg too, and I'll help you too. I'm gonna go to the fanfare when we're done. I am going to do some research and see what's gonna be the very best, and then I will email both of you.
Okay,
Okay.
terrific.
All right.
Thank you. This was awesome.
Great.
Well, you guys are the best.
Hi, Peggy.
Hi.
I miss you. I miss you, Peggy.
Too. Glad-
Thank
I
you.
All
miss,
right.
I miss both of you.
Hey, Ken. Hi, Ken.
Hi.
I know. One of these days we'll get back to Tuesdays again, hopefully.
I know.
We
It's-
will.
We just got to keep the faith and keep doing it this way until we can figure this whole thing out.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
You want me
Thank
to play it one more time? And if you want to play along with me, please feel free to play along with me. I did have something else that I was going to teach, but seeing as how our next song is Summertime, it's
Ooh.
very similar in style. I will hold off what I was going to add to this lesson. I will hold off and add that to next week's lesson.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to do this one more time. If you want to play along with me, please feel free. I am going to put it now on Duke's Blues at 72. I think I actually had that one here. Okay, perfect. Perfect. And I'm going to slow it down a little bit. I'm going to slow it down to 68. If you don't put a background on right now, just put it on easy. Make sure you're muted. And if you just want to play chords, that's fine. If you just want to play the right hand, that's fine too. I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. We come in on beat 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Third line. First ending. Back to the beginning. Second ending. Top of the page. Very
Perfect.
cool. Very cool. Yep. Next
Very
week we
good.
will. Next week we'll do summertime. If you have any questions about what we did today, email me, Peg and Jerry. I will get on the fanfare and I will email you as soon as I find a couple of nice suggestions for you.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. You're very
Thank
welcome.
you, Don.
Thank you, Dawn.
You guys are the bestest.
Hey, Don.
Thanks,
Thank
Don.
you, Dawn. Good lesson.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. I'm leaving. Bye.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye, Dawn.
Love you guys.
Love you too. Bye-bye.
Bye.